Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Crisis Jung, episode 6-10. And yeah, excuse me, just had some spicy corn, so I might hiccup a little every now and again. So after the last reaction, I was told a couple things by Space, who was the one who, excuse me, recommended this in the first place. So apparently a lot of this was based on Jungian theory, which is some kind of psychological theory about sexuality and whatnot. I don't know all the details behind it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but so there's a lot based off of that. But the creators of this also just kind of wanted it to be batshit crazy. So it's like all of that is fully intentional. It's completely intentional for it to be just completely off the wall. And viewing it in that regard, it's definitely succeeding. It's not something that I inherently dislike, but I would say it's not something that I'm like super amped about either. Like I'm not gonna get like extremely hype over this series being like so fucking random and weird and everything. But at the same time, I'm not gonna like get upset about it. Just going back over the first 5 episodes. So we had our main character. He's hanging out with his girlfriend when all of a sudden the apocalypse happens, as you do. So this like demon creature named Little Jesus kind of just invades out of nowhere and takes the main character's girlfriend, rips her head off to use as a centerpiece for his pyramid temple, and flings her body elsewhere. Which I think we found out was in that cannibal. The cannibal had her body, I think. But then the hero has to, like, goes under this like change for he's like he's caught in like this giant stone fist, and it's like goes under this like almost like therapy session kind of thing, which I guess kind of ties into the Jungian theory. And he has to be in there for quite a while, because when he comes out, there are people who are already fully acclimated to this apocalyptic world. There's legends based around it. People have been living in these tribes and all for presumably a long time, based on just context clues. So our main character had to have been in that stone fist for quite a while. During the events of the series, it's basically him just journeying around this apocalyptic hellscape, meeting new characters and fighting these villains who are all like based around personality traits and concepts and stuff. And he basically has to defeat them in order to gain a better understanding of himself, which is going to help him succeed in the end. You can kind of see where, again, all the psychological stuff is coming in this series, even if it's presented in a very batshit way. But yeah, so he meets like this character named Mary Magdalene, who was assigned male at birth, presumably, but is a identifies as female. And I kind of brought this up as a notable thing last time because of the entire thing, and we even saw it in one of the last episodes from the last session, where it's like there was this one guy who is kind of declared a woman by the elder of their tribe. Um, and it kind of seems that that's how things kind of go in the culture at this point, in this apocalyptic world. Um, Women are like natural, like cis women and stuff. Um, I shouldn't say natural. That's a really bad way to put it. But cis women aren't around. Um, it's kind of implied, I believe, that all of them were taken by little Jesus. But at the same time, I guess it's like it didn't show maybe enough of them to where I just didn't gather that. I believe that was another thing I was told, that they were all taken by little Jesus. Maybe most of them killed or something. I don't know. But either way, so it's now like some men are being declared as women, in order to like fulfill that kind of role. As we see in that episode from last time, it's like the guy who was declared a woman by the village elder was declared so to kind of act as a mother figure to this orphaned kid and all. So yeah. Um, there's just all kinds of weird, wild stuff in this. The main character, when transforming, he has this transformation where he turns like giant purple, gains these very prominent large breasts, which can be used to shoot like nipple milk lasers and all kinds of weird ass shit. um, and it's like, again, I understand that there's the connection to the Jungian theory, that there's the just the creators wanting to go batshit insane with this. But it's like, really, it's like a total what the fuck the entire time. But yeah, this is the second half. There are 5 more episodes, 6 through 10. Um, and I don't know if we're going to get like a happy ending. I assume that somehow our main character is gonna be able to save his girlfriend, who I think was named Maria, but I'm not 100%. Um, Somehow, even though honestly she's dead, like she should be dead. She got her head ripped off and shit. Not only just ripped off, twisted off too. Um, but somehow he'll probably be able to save her. The question is, will the apocalypse world still be around, or will he somehow be able to reverse that too? Hell, maybe we'll just have a fucking time travel bullshit. That would be able to fix everything. That would be able to help him save Maria and stop the apocalypse world. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Um, but yeah, it has some very interesting ideas in it. Um, I mean, even just the like concept of being in touch with yourself, like learning more about who you are and the different aspects and traits that a person can have that makes them whole and stuff. And obviously, there's no one size fits all with any of that. Um, Different people need different things. Different people have different traits, have different personality quirks, etc., etc. No one is the same in any of that regard. So obviously, it's not like a one size fits all kind of idea. But still, it's really interesting. Um, and for those who haven't seen the first video for this, the first 5 episodes, I would implore you to watch that first, for obvious reasons. But just as a note, there is graphic violence, blood and gore, nudity, sexual content, and just generally unsettling graphic imagery. Um, for example, there is one scene, I think it was in episode 5. It might have been episode 4 or 5. Where there's this group of kids from one of the villages who go out to, I believe they're trying to find water. And they end up being captured by the cannibal I mentioned, that ends up being befriended by our main character. And the cannibal captures them, chops their arms off, and eats them. And I think serves them to the main character, too. And the kid, I think one of the kids ends up being able to survive in the end and get back. But it's just like, like this show pulls no punches. Like showing kids get violently mutilated. It shows, again, a lot of sexual content, a lot of gore, a lot of blood. It does not hold back. And in some ways, that's beneficial for it. Especially in a post-apocalyptic world where everything's gone to shit. Yeah, it's like you gotta show the harshness of a world like that, especially one created by some kind of crazy-ass demon. But at the same time, again, it is just completely WTF. Like, this series is just a massive what the fuck. But I'm enjoying it, you could say. I'm okay with it enough to continue going, obviously. I'm just not sure where this is going to go at all. Again, I do not know at all if it's going to have any semblance of a happy ending or any semblance of any ending, really. I just don't know. I guess we'll find out. In the meantime, though, this is the last reaction for this. So the question is going to be, what's going to replace it? And I will announce that in the afterthoughts at the very end, after my review of these 5 episodes and just my general thoughts of the series as a whole. I will reveal what is going to replace this in this slot on the reactions. This is a donation reward slot, so expect something from that. So that's all I'm going to say right now. In the meantime, though, we are going to get this started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so I looked this up, and apparently the Jungian approach is the psychotherapeutic approach of analytical psychology, in which the analyst and patient work together to bring unconscious elements of the psyche into a more balanced relationship with conscious awareness and experience in an effort to discover meaning, facilitate maturation of personality, yada, yada, yada. It's basically created by famed psychologist Carl Jung and stuff, and all that jazz. I don't fully understand all that stuff, being honest, so it's like I don't fully get how that ties into everything. These final 5 episodes was basically just our hero, Jung, named after Carl Jung, defeating the last of the enemies by absorbing his friends into himself for some reason. And he then takes on little Jesus, kills him, kind of. He kind of survives. Defeats him, at least. And then Maria, whose head and body reattach and for some reason become giant and glowing, eats little Jesus and awakens. And when discovering that during these psychology sessions inside the giant fist, Jung had been talking to himself, he devours his violence and also turns into a giant glowing naked person. And then the two fuck. Because why the hell not? And apparently their fucking resets the world or something. And there's new culture and people and life going on, and there's a temple dedicated to them with statues of Jung and Maria. Was this a happy? I guess this was a happy ending, because they reunited, and they stopped the apocalypse and reset the world to a positive state. I mean, in the process, a shit ton of people did still die. In the process, they died. But they kind of became worshipped as gods as well. And that's the kind of thing at the end here that I'm not sure, like, what I'm supposed to take from this, because that comes across as extremely self-worshipping almost. Like, if this series is supposed to be like some kind of psychological like have some kind of big psychological meaning to it behind again, your subconscious self and your conscious self and all that, and just coming to terms with all these different traits that make you complete and everything. It's like, what is it trying to say in the end when basically our main character and his girlfriend end up becoming literally worshipped gods to the next generation of people? Like, that kind of comes across as extremely, like, egocentric. Like, you're trying to say, like, oh, if you just like discover all these different traits in yourself and work to make yourself whole, you'll become a god and you'll be better than everyone else. In more of the what's it called? Metaphorical sense. Like, not like actually become a god, obviously, but you'll be like above others who have not done so. And it kind of comes across as extremely egocentric and just super arrogant. Because if your goal is to be put on this pedestal above others, then you're not balanced. That's not right. That's not moral or ethical. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be popular in general. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be remembered. But when your main goal is to be viewed as better than others, if your main goal is to be viewed as basically superior in any way, there's something wrong. You should never make it your goal to be superior to anyone else, to be on a level above other people. And unless I'm remembering this wrong from these episodes, because everything kind of runs together and it's all just a bunch of wild shit that I'm trying to all process. But didn't it say in one of these, basically, don't do that? In one of these episodes we watched today, didn't it basically say that you shouldn't put yourself on a pedestal above others, basically? So I don't know. Maybe I'm just misremembering that, but I'm kind of confused at the point of all of this. Because in the end, it's not even fully clear if that could be counted as them reuniting. Like, was that, like, fully Maria? It's unclear. And what was the meaning of her devouring little Jesus? What did that mean? What? See, it's one thing for a lot of the show to be batshit crazy, but then there's another thing for the ending to be unsatisfying. Like, if you're going to have a show like this that's just completely batshit insane, that just goes completely off the wall with everything, that's fine. Have fun with it. But you have to make the ending be a satisfying conclusion to everything that had built up to it. Everything that had been worked throughout all these episodes that our characters have been fighting for. You have to have that satisfying conclusion that everything has built into. And nothing about this was satisfying. The only part that could be viewed as satisfying was the fact that the world was saved. The world had been started anew and everything. But otherwise, it's like, again, it's unclear if Maria was even fully conscious of herself. Or him. Hell, when they were both giant in their giant forms and stuff, it was basically like they were acting on pure instinct rather than with any form of conscious thought. And then adding to that, it's like, oh boy, they came together and fucked. And then they died. They're gone. What are we supposed to take from that? Like, what are we supposed to get from that? It wasn't a positive, meaningful reunion between them. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sex between two people who love each other. But it's like, really? Like in one of these episodes, he said he was basically saying while he was in the giant fist that he had put Maria on this pedestal and everything. And it's like, yes, that's a good thing to talk about. How you shouldn't like put the people you love on such a high pedestal because it separates the two of you. Hell, Ruby covered this in a really fantastic way with Pyrrha. That was a great thing to teach, but then it's like, nothing came of it, really. There's nothing wrong with two people who love each other having sex, but it's like, and there's nothing wrong even with like showing that in this. It's just, I just feel like it was pointless. Like, I think it would have been better if instead of dying afterwards, they would have shrunk down and been in like their normal original forms. Like, and when I'm saying original for Jung, that means like before the apocalypse happened and everything. And that they started, and that they were together again, and they said something, and like, even just something as simple as like, I love you, or I'm glad to have you back, or something like that. And then they would like see something like a plant or something sprout from the earth, something that people haven't seen for a shit long time because of this a post-apocalyptic world. And they smile and it fades out there, and it's like, basically showing that, okay, the world can come back from this. That would have been a fantastic way to end it off. After all of that insanity, all of that just buttfuck ridiculousness, a moment of levity, a moment of lighthearted joy. Like catharsis. A moment of catharsis. A true conclusion to everything that had built up. And one that doesn't make them appear as like basically superior otherworldly beings. One that doesn't like basically worship them in the end. And even leaves it open to like where you don't see the world back in at normal, like in a normal way at the end. To handle it in a way more like that would have been just, again, just a better overall conclusion to this. It would have felt like it was properly handled and thought out instead of just something that almost, like I said, based on what I can process, almost seemed to go against its own ideas. And just, I didn't like how this ended. That's the short of it. I really didn't like how this ended. I also thought that the final fight with Little Jesus was very underwhelming, and pretty much amounted to pretty much the same amount of screen time and same amount of effort as any of the other fights we've seen. Like, seriously, it's like he tries to fight him, he does maybe a little bit of something, is defeated, has his therapy session, comes back, boom, he wins. It's like every fight has been like that. And at least the Little Jesus fight should have been a little more. It should have been longer, should have been more harder fought. It was underwhelming. And I mean, and nothing came of it in the end. He wasn't able to kill Little Jesus. Little Jesus did survive. And in the end, again, Little Jesus was eaten by Maria, which amounted to pretty much nothing. It didn't really seem to do anything besides maybe waking her up. But that's even kind of unclear. Overall, this series is just kind of meh to me. It's not bad, but it's not great either, and it has a few issues that do really bother me, especially the ending. I will not get over that. But I just feel like it could have handled things better while still keeping this batshit crazy style to it. I just feel like certain elements of it were just so disjointed, and just certain parts made absolutely no sense to a degree where it hurt the overall message, whatever the message was, at the core of this series. But in the end, it's over. So as I said, it is now time to talk about what we are going to get into next for this slot. This is, as I mentioned, a donation reward slot. So what will we be replacing Crisis Jung for this slot on the channel's reactions? Well, the next donation reward we are going to be covering is... Why is the name escaping me? I wasn't just pausing for dramatic effect. I actually legitimately forgot the name for a second there. Wow, that is... I can't believe that. It's like I could think of what it is in my head. I just can't think of the name. I have my Word document up, so let me just There we go. Um, the next show, the show we're replacing Crisis Jung with is Dark Crystal. I believe the subtitle is Age of Resistance on Netflix. It is a prequel series to the original Dark Crystal movie that came out, I think, in the 80s. I have never seen the movie. I was never interested in seeing the movie. I've seen like a couple screenshots of this, and I know that this series and all uses like practical effects puppets and stuff, um, and is like this kind of high fantasy type series. Otherwise, I don't really know too much about it. All I can say for sure is that I'm not sure what I'm going to think of it. Again, I've never seen the movie, I've never been interested, and honestly, I was never interested in this show. The only reason I'm reacting to it is because it was a donation reward. I would have never chosen to react to it otherwise. I would never chosen to watch it otherwise. Um, so I just don't know. I do not know if I'm going to like this. I do not know if it's going to interest me in any way. I know it's popular. I know people like it, but that doesn't mean I'll like it because I've been known to dislike things that are popular, and I've been known to like things that are very unpopular. So yeah, it's just hard to say what I'm going to think of this at all to any degree. But I'm hoping I like it. Just like with anything I start on the channel, I really do hope to enjoy this series. Um, and we'll just kind of go from there and see how it goes. If not, if I don't like it, if I do end up dropping it, I have other shows still on the rotation I can switch to after that. But we'll see. I will change the channel banner to reflect Dark Crystal Age of Resistance as soon as I can after this video is posted. So hopefully, as you're watching this video, that channel banner should be changed, hopefully. I can't promise anything, but... and yeah, that being said, I hope you enjoyed this reaction either way. And I hope you continue to check out more on the channel. So for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.